Ladies and gentlemen, you see Democrats trying to investigate phantoms, trying to initiate probes into President Trump, trying to relitigate fantasies that have been not only completely undermined. There was no reason for anyone to charge President Trump or Trump Jr. or anyone around them for statutes linked to collusion or linked to obstruction. That never happened. So now Democrats are going to read the Mueller report, all 400 plus pages, in a really pathetic, hilarious political stunt. Who cares? They can actually read the entire version, like Adam Schiff, Jerry Nadler can. They choose not to. They know very well there are reasons why William Barr removed certain paragraphs or certain pages. 95% of it is there. The Mueller team decided not to prosecute President Trump. That's all they need to know. That completely obliterates the 2 years of, let's, connect the dots. This was linked. This was the foundation of all of this nonsense, was the Steele Dossier. It was purchased by Hillary Clinton. It was outsourced by the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton as she funneled money through her law firm. The way the Clintons work is they take money from Uranium One through their foundation, they funnel money through their law firm, and that's how they remove themselves from obvious, transparent graft and foul play. But this is really, really interesting. The reason that they're engaging in all of these theatrics and hysterical behavior is because they know what's coming. Eventually, Clinton is going to get indicted. She's going to lose the election. She will run again. Hillary Clinton is running again. Let everyone, if you're still on social media, and I suggest actually, I'm no longer on social media. I don't have my Twitter account. I don't have my Facebook. I deleted all of them. I had like 26,000 people on Twitter. Deleted it. So that is not me on Twitter. That's a fake parody account. Oh, there are parody accounts of me. But I suggest if you're the type of person who just doesn't want to get into endless debate with people you just don't know, just delete the social media accounts and you can just be free of all that nonsense. But I did that. But all of this is going to, if you're still on social media, let everyone know that Hillary Clinton is running again, that H.A. Goodman is saying that. And she is going to run again. All of this was to pave the way for Clinton running. All of it. All of it. The Steele Dossier, it's actually them using the Steele Dossier as a criminal act because they used it to deceive FISA judges, and that is a crime. And we know now, this is really, really interesting. You have a former deputy attorney general on Fox News. He was involved with a whole bunch of Bush controversies. John Yoo, former deputy attorney general or high level at the Justice Department. He has consistently tried to remove himself from saying, oh yeah, he definitely doesn't speak like I do or like Sean Hannity does or like Tom Fitton does, or the way John Solomon does. Or he doesn't want to speak like Paul Sperry. He doesn't want to say outright that, hey, these people are under criminal investigation. There's a criminal probe. They've broken legal statutes by leaking classified memos. Comey by deceiving and lying to FISA judges, Comey, Strzok, and McCabe, Clapper, Brennan. By promoting a myth that was done for political purposes, all of them. These are all criminal acts. You cannot deceive FISA judges. You cannot leak classified memos, which is what Comey did. According to Chuck Grassley, Comey's memos were classified. 4 of the 7 were classified, and he gave 4. At least 1 was classified. But check this out. This is John Yoo on Fox today saying the words criminal investigation. Check it out. Because he's talking about he's talking about William Barr, John Durham. William Barr's picked John Durham, who won't be playing golf, and who knows what John Huber was doing. But listen to this, John Yoo.
If Attorney General Barr appointed a U.S. attorney, that probably means he thinks there's some grounds for a criminal investigation. There's already an investigation within the Justice Department.
Let's hear that again.
Criminal investigation. There's already an investigation. That probably in the CIA. If Attorney General Barr appointed a U.S. attorney, that probably means he thinks there's some grounds for a criminal investigation. There's already an investigation. U.S. attorney. That probably means he thinks there's some grounds for a criminal investigation. There's already an investigation within the Justice Department.
We know that this is a criminal probe. We know this, okay? I speak about it every day. It's interesting to get John Yoo to say this. He is an establishment figure who was part of the Bush administration. He's an very establishment Republican, very influential voice, even though he just recently is on Fox and, on the cable stations more often. But he was part of some major, major stories during the Bush administration that I disagree with. And it's actually against YouTube policies to get too far into exactly what John Yoo was doing or justifying, I should say. But if he is saying that, John Durham is a part of all of this now, and the reason he was appointed is because there are criminal investigations. Of course, he says, that he possibly thinks that there. What does he say exactly? Let's listen to this exactly again.
To the U.S. attorney, that probably means he thinks there's some grounds for a criminal investigation. There's already an investigation within the Justice Department going on by the Inspector General, which you would use if you wanted to reform things in the department, change the way you did the FISA warrants. But to bring in an outside U.S. attorney to conduct a kind of criminal investigation, that should have a lot of people worried.
The Inspector General has no teeth. The Inspector General, just like with the IG report with Strzok and Comey, just basically said, Comey was insubordinate, Strzok was biased, and all of these horrible things took place. Okay, have a nice day. Michael Horowitz does not have any ability to prosecute anyone. Now, John Huber Sessions, whether he did one thing good or two things good, or whether John Durham was appointed to investigate James Baker, the bottom line is the Mueller probe was started by Rod Rosenstein because Jeff Sessions recused himself. President Trump, now I say this to the amazing people who watch me who've been led astray, President Trump clowns Sessions all the time, even at CPAC, to the point where he was clowning him and mocking him, beyond belief. Why? Trump is not going to go out of his way. If there was some kind of thing that was going on, Trump would tell you. He has no need to hide anything. And he's telling you how much he loves Barr. William Barr, he is sticking with, and he loves and he admires because William Barr is defending President Trump. Now, am I certain that indictments will take place? No, I'm not 100% certain, no. Will indictments take place? Yes. I can tell you that not only am I confident, all the writing is on the wall. People have committed crimes. When the left says, There's not, everything was illegal and they were suspicious. You cannot base, and I have a wonderful, wonderful gentleman who watches this channel who disagrees with me all the time, but he's wonderful. He's completely, respectful and just great person, and always disagrees with me in a very civil manner, and wondering, first saying that Hillary will never run. Of course she's running. And the writing's on the wall regarding that also, but she is running. You think that she's the type of person who cares what anyone thinks of her, and she's gonna campaign for Biden? You think she's the type of person that she spent her whole life running and then blaming Russia for the past 2 years for cheating her? And then telling Maggie Haberman, I didn't want to close the door on it. She has never said she's not running. She will not run. She's never said that, even though everyone has reported that. She's running again because that is what the Clintons do. They attain power there's no expense that there's nothing that will stop them from attaining exactly what they want. And that's why she helped push this Trump-Russia myth. If Trump purchased a dossier on Clinton, they would never allow that to take place. If the Republican Party outsourced CrowdStrike and then said to the U.S. government, you have to abide by the assessment of a company we outsource, they would never, media and Democrats would never allow that to take place. If there was a probe, a special counsel into Clinton that was conducted by an FBI director, former FBI director, who allowed yellow cake uranium to be shipped out of this country, that is according to the New York Times, and a team of only Trump voters and people who gave money to the Republican Party and Trump, they would never let that happen. Ever, ever, ever. But now, there's an actual criminal probe. And we always talk about this, but it's really interesting to see John Yoo bring that up. John Yoo is an establishment figure. Now, later on in the clip, in the Fox News segment, there's another Deputy Attorney General who says, well, it doesn't mean that there's a criminal probe. I love how they can't admit, they can't possibly fathom that this was not above board. Well, gee, we just can't rush to judgment. The United States government would never be utilized against an incoming candidate. Everyone turns into Jimmy Stewart. Golly gee. The government would never do that against an incoming candidate. We just don't have people like that in our government. Jimmy Stewart. I have to work on my Jimmy Stewart. Golly gee, Jimmy Stewart. There just isn't anyone like that in the United States government. I can't do it. I'm almost there, man. Yeah, we do. We do have people like that. We have Comey and Strzok and McCabe and Clapper and Brennan and all the wonderful people that Bernard Sanders is now representing. You know how I'm going to get Medicare for all? By ensuring that AOC never votes on it in the House. Because by the time the Democrats pass a Medicare for all bill in a House they control, the Messiah will be here. We won't even have to worry about global warming. And it's all left-wing policies are always furthered by people like Brennan, Clapper, Strzok, McCabe, and Comey. The left is completely lost it. They've completely lost it. Thank God I left the left, and thank God I'm a Trump supporter. In that world, that's oh my God, I'm a Trump supporter. Oh my God, can you say any mea culpas? Thank God I'm a Trump supporter. Oh my God, what a dysfunctional political movement they have, which is basically a bowel movement, a giant, it's been a 2-year-long bowel movement, and now it'll be another year and a half before finally we can flush down the Democratic Party into the ash heap of history septic system. My God. They are so... they think that if they play dirty, we're going to play dirty. Yeah. And we have these pundits on the left. They're so oblivious. They think that, look, you know what? This was above board. No, it wasn't. They all have egg on their face. And it's different from when I said that Clinton would get indicted. Even James Baker, who's under criminal investigation, agreed with me. So did Lisa Page. I have the pulse of what's going on. You almost always have the pulse of what's going on. I mean, you almost always right. Sometimes I'm wrong, but you know what? I'm human. It's fine. I'm telling you, though, when Hillary runs, let everyone know. Let everyone know I've been saying from day one. Big shout out to Black Conservative Patriot. Thank you just so much for referring my channel. You have some amazing subs, and now they're sharing, my segments, and my channel is growing since you've given me that shout out. So I appreciate that. And like I said, BCP, Black Conservative Patriot, feel free to use any of my segments within your segments. Black Conservative Patriot, the editing is fantastic. And he needs to be at 1 million subs because he allows everyone to see a bird's eye view. BCP allows everyone to see a bird's eye view of what's taking place. Everything in aggregate. You see all the cable stations and all the people talking, and you can kind of condense it into this very informative segment. So it's amazing what he does. But it's important to see a bird's eye view of what's taking place. You think that Hillary's in the news every single day? Why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Every single day she's in the news. What do you think? Why do you think that is? Why do you think Democrats are just every they want to investigate everything? We're going to investigate. We're going to investigate. They know they know what's happening. They know that the roof is caving in terms of their corruption. They know. They had 8 years of President Obama, who was one of the most corrupt administrations in American history. Unfortunately, media did everything possible to sweep everything under the rug. You are not President of the United States, and it's impossible for a President of the United States not to know. It is absolutely impossible for a President of the United States not to know that his Secretary of State had private servers outside the United States government that were able to receive and send top secret and special access program and classified intelligence. It's impossible. It is impossible. It is absolutely impossible. So when President Obama lied to the country and said, I just found out when CNN told me. It's like, really? So Madam Cyberhack could have literally been selling SAP intel and nobody would have known? Because that's what it comes down to. And notice I've never accused her of that. I bring up the fact that she had servers with top secret intel every single day, but I've never accused her of selling but theoretically, she could have. And they would have accused Trump of. See, the thing is, they have no filter when it comes to Trump. They expect you not to go certain places. Well, the uranium-1 cell's been debunked. No, it hasn't. It happened. And notice even the way they describe it. Uranium-1, it's been debunked. That has been debunked. That. What is that? What are you referring to? The actual sale happened. You can't debunk something that actually took place. There's nothing to explain, or there's no context. It actually took place. The question is whether or not the money that flowed into the Clinton Foundation from Uranium-1 officials was a coinky-dink. Was it a coincidence? When Bill Clinton met with Vladimir Putin at his home outside Moscow, was that a coincidence? And then now you have, and this is another reason why Democrats are just going, they're all over the place. Now you have revelations that James Comey not only ordered an investigation into McCabe, but James Comey offered to testify against McCabe. And I explained that. So, I explained that in my last segment, but here's the actual Washington Post. The comments came a day after Comey, who was in the midst of a publicity tour to promote his book, said on CNN he could well be a witness against McCabe if McCabe were ever charged charged for misleading investigators about his role in media disclosure. Comey said he had authorized an investigation of leaks that ultimately led to McCabe. Gee, you think when he authorized the investigation of leaks, he knew that it would end with McCabe? Of course he did. These are people at the FBI. Look. Comey actually stated he didn't know this fella Anthony Weiner, this fella congressman, he didn't know that he was Uma Abedin's husband. I mean, you were expected to believe these people are absolute imbeciles, which they are, but they know what's up. They know what's going on. So you have John Yoo saying this. That's a big deal. Let's listen to it again.
If Attorney General Barr appointed a U.S. attorney, that probably means he thinks there's some grounds for a criminal investigation. There's already an investigation within the Justice Department going on by the Inspector General, which you would use if you wanted to reform things in the department, change the way you did the FISA warrants. But to bring in an outside U.S. attorney to conduct a kind of criminal investigation, that should have a lot of people worried.
Of course it does. They're all worried. They're all complicit. The journalists, the quote-unquote journalists, not only became activists, they became they became part of this criminal corruption. The FBI agents, Comey, Strzok, McCabe, all of them, what they did was simply foment, spread stories that were detrimental to Trump. Spread these stories, and then hide behind the fact that they were already out in the open within the media, and then utilize these stories that they helped spread through friendly journalists at left-wing publications, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about Mother Jones. Are you kidding me? When in history, in American history, did the left ever form a union or an alliance with the intelligence officials? When did that ever happen? I mean, you never really, in the 60s, you have anti-war protesters. They didn't go, or, they didn't team up with the FBI or the CIA or any of them, the NS, they didn't do that. So it's so bizarre. And Democrats and liberals and people on the left are like, well, whatever helps us in the short term, because politics is a dirty game. The left spends most of its time trying to disparage people. That's why, when people write hit pieces on me and try to disparage me, it's like, no, you don't get it. If you're on the left and you're disparaging somebody you don't like, you're actually only trying to tell people who might agree with you, hey, don't listen to that guy. You're not disparaging. They didn't disparage my voice with people who have basic reading comprehension and logical reasoning skills. My voice resonates with people who see what's going on. It's obvious. Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan engaged in criminal acts. So for anyone who can see that, my voice resonates. It really doesn't matter if people dislike me on the left or, write hit pieces. It's completely irrelevant. If anything, it bolsters my voice. But that's what the left doesn't get. Liberals, and you have these pundits, they They think that if they can ostracize somebody, if they can just marginalize their voice, if they could try to mock them, that then nobody will listen to them. It's like, no, actually, actually, the very fact that you're spending so much time trying to disparage another person means that A, that person's voice is infinitely louder and more influential than yours, and B, you're not really speaking to the people who listen to that person you're trying to disparage. They don't. Every single time they try to mock and demean Trump and Trump supporters, it always goes back to them. Well, why did they lose? Why did they cheat Bernie Sanders? Why did they rally behind an individual like Hillary Clinton, who in both rhetoric and deed is worse than anything Trump has said or done on every issue from race to foreign policy to social issues? Then they're like, oh, climate change. AOC didn't get elected because of climate change. She got elected because she said she would abolish ICE legislation and universal health care legislation. They haven't even voted on it. It's the middle of May. And you'll hear me every day. I'll be like, it's the middle of August. It's the middle of July. Middle of September. They will never vote on Medicare for all. All those pundits who are like, yeah, this is... when are they going to realize that Democrats... The Democratic Party is in an existential dilemma at this moment. Their most intriguing policies are not feasible. They have no intention of abolishing ICE. They have no intention of implementing universal health care. It's not economically feasible, but even if I was wrong on that, where's the bill? So you mean to say that it's feasible economically, but the House just won't pass it? It's run by Democrats. Why won't they pass it? So they have the Democratic Party is in an existential crisis right now. They can't rely on policies and legislation because the policies that they would like to implement are marginally better than Republican policies, but being marginally better than Republicans. So when people say, well, you're not going to get Medicare for all, but at least you won't cut, Republicans want to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and all that stuff. I actually don't want any cuts to those programs, but that's different from Medicare for all. That's different from universal health care. One is exciting and not feasible. The other is, well, you're marginally better than Republicans, but hey, you know what? You have a great economy with Trump. You have an anti-interventionist foreign policy with Trump. You have prison reform legislation, the First Step Act. You have manufacturing jobs with Trump. You have more jobs than more job openings than workers to fill these workers to fill them in the country, which hasn't happened in decades. Lowest unemployment in 50 years with Trump. So then all they have to fall back on is a Green New Deal resolution. They're not even courageous enough to have legislation, Green New Deal legislation. Well, there's nothing you could vote on now that could help the environment? It is a smokescreen and an overt deception because they can't fall back on policies. Their policies are not feasible. They can't. So what do they do now? They spent 2 years talking about talking about Russia. That more egg on their face. They found nothing because they fabricated everything. They committed crimes. So now you have a political party that committed crimes, a political party that cheated Bernie Sanders, got him to promote a new Cold War Red Scare. They can't fall back on any legislation that really excites people because the legislation that excites people is not feasible, and they have no intention of implementing abolishing ICE or $15 minimum wage. They have no intention of implementing that. So when they nominate, or when she runs again, Hillary Clinton, they nominate her, they will lose again with her. You're going to see the implosion of the Democratic Party because they're going to realize that, oh my God, what Okay, you want voting rights legislation? What? John Conyers and Jim Sensenbrenner had Voting Rights Amendment Act of 2015. They didn't vote on that. On every major issue that they claim to be, at the forefront, they're either not voting on legislation or they're bypassing, circumventing the responsibility to vote by saying, well, here's a resolution. It's an ambitious version. It's ambitious. The AFL-CIO is against it. Your biggest constituency is against it. Unions are against the Green New Deal. Okay? Unions are against, and by the way, in my Federalist article, I explain, you would decimate communities, indigenous communities. The Democrats took this left-wing course at Berkeley in 1979, and then they're like, oh, well, you know what? We're gonna base our political party on this. This is fantastic. So as long as we say the phrase indigenous communities, that'll seem hip and wonderful and moral. Yeah, but you know what? The world's supply of cobalt is found in the Congo. And people are losing their lives and perishing in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in order for your fantastic electric car vehicle batteries to run properly. And indigenous communities are losing their water supply in Latin America, so lithium could be mined, so your electric car vehicle batteries could run properly. And I explained that in my Federalist article below, one of my Federalist articles. But don't tell the wonderful Democrats. They just exist to pontificate. And notice, the more censorship they engage in, the less political power they derive from this censorship. They think they need every single possible advantage, and they still can't defeat Trump. It's uncanny. They run the prevailing mentality and paradigm within the media. Okay. They promote censorship of voices that they find to be threatening or that they don't like. And we're talking about just basic conservatives. We're not talking about, anything horrendous here. I mean, yeah, you have certain flamboyant people that they've promoted to, that they've said, oh, this person needs to be silenced. But they haven't even been able to do that, really. They have Hollywood. Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, they have everything, okay? The entire media. They have corrupt intelligence officials who are now under criminal investigation. It's not just Andrew McCabe and James Baker. This is, Comey is under criminal investigation. Brandon Clapper, they're all under criminal investigation, and they know it. Strzok, too, they all know it. We will stop Trump. Are you kidding me? He literally stated the motive. We will stop Trump. And they still couldn't. They utilized the dossier that was purchased by Hillary Clinton, and they still couldn't knock him out and remove him. And she spent $1.2 billion. He spent $600 million. They still couldn't prevent Trump from becoming president. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just they have every single conceivable, possible advantage politically. They outspend Republicans. I mean, Beto O'Rourke, they're like, oh, well, he got close in Texas. He basically almost outspent Ted Cruz 2-1. And Ted Cruz is not a great candidate. He really isn't. Ted Cruz and Trey Gowdy are they have one foot in the populist mode and then one foot in the establishment mode, and it's Lindsey Graham is, you can see whenever there's whenever they want somebody, they feel somebody's getting too close to the truth, they're like, impeach him. So Lindsey Graham, William Barr, soon it'll be John Durham, they're like, oh my god, this is horrible, it'll be horrible people. With Jeff Sessions, they were with Jeff Sessions and Rosenstein, they were defending them. Now Rosenstein's flipped. But anyway, John Yoo, what he was able to say is pretty profound. From an establishment figure and a person within the Justice Department that was asked to defend some really horrible things under the Bush administration. So, if you ever wonder why Democrats are just acting in the most irrational manner, even more so than they usually do, Look no further than what John Yoo stated. These people are under criminal investigation, criminal probe, and William Barr's already started it with John Durham. John Huber was out and playing golf for this whole time. John Huber actually got information about the Clinton Foundation and did nothing about it. That's Paul Sperry and Tom Fitton have stated that. You have people, Tom Fitton, Paul Sperry, and President Trump himself, clowning Huber and Sessions. So, whether, he did one good thing, well, big deal. Congratulations. You wreck 10 cars and then you wash another car. You polish one car and you're like, well, look, see what I did? Yeah, but you wrecked 10 cars. I should, Anyway, my Patreon is below if you want to support my voice long term. I want to thank you so much for your support and letting people know about this channel. We're growing. We're on our way to 150,000 subs. We are literally on our way to 150,000, and it feels great. And, just thank you very much, everyone. Definitely subscribe to Nick DiPaolo and Black Conservative Patriot. Thank you so very much. Thank you.